Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Traffic incidents are disrupting routes tonight. On the M8 eastbound at junction 15, a broken down vehicle has closed lane 1. The M4 westbound at junction 23A Mega has roadworks with diversions. The M1 northbound in Leicestershire between junctions 24 and 25 is delayed due to an incident, closing one lane. Suffolk's A14 westbound between junctions 58 Bucklesham and 57 Ipswich East faces 10-minute delays. In Brighton, the A27 eastbound collision closes all lanes. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Northern report disruptions at Cambridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. The Prime Minister agrees, or one might say subjugates, to the French President on a migrant deal in what I believe was an anti-Brexit summit. Is it really the case that now, if you're on disability benefit, you really do genuinely earn more than people on minimum wage? What on earth are we going to do? I'm afraid more than one pub a day is going to close over the course of the next year, which is sad because I believe that every pub is a parliament. But before all of that, let's get the news with Sam Francis.
Nigel, thank you, and good evening to you. Just after 7 o'clock, the top story tonight. Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have announced a new returns deal to, they say, tackle small boat crossings, calling illegal migration a global crisis. Under the agreement, migrants arriving here in the UK via small boats will be detained and sent back to France. A pilot scheme will begin within weeks, with one legal migrant accepted for each person returned. It comes as more than 44,000 migrants have reached the UK so far since the general election via small boats, including this year almost 21,000. Sir Keir Starmer says the new returns deal will show migrants their journey will be in vain.
This is our plan together, hard-headed, aggressive action on all fronts to break the gangs' business model, secure our borders and show that by attempting to reach the UK by small boat, will only end in failure, detention and return.
Meanwhile, the King has praised RNLI volunteers in Kent who helped to rescue dozens of migrants from a sinking small boat where, sadly, 4 people died. His Majesty asked if crews, quote, get a lot of those calls out during a visit to Walmer Beach, where he met the team behind the 2022 rescue. One crew member described the mission as chaotic, traumatic and bitterly cold. The King later joined a beach clean-up, waving his litter picker to crowds of locals, and also highlighted irregular migration as a shared challenge with France. Kemi Badenoch has called for health benefits to be restricted only to those with the most serious conditions as she set out her plans for welfare today. In a speech, the Tory leader warned of a ticking time bomb of welfare dependency. Its government forecasts suggest annual spending on health and disability benefits could reach £70 billion. Other projections suggest the figure could go as high as £100 billion. Here's what Ms Badenoch had to say earlier today.
If we don't solve this problem, our economy will collapse. 1 million young people are currently not in education, employment or training. And we are on course to spend 1 in every £4 of income tax on sickness benefits alone. What began as a safety net for the most vulnerable has morphed into something completely different. The system is unsustainable, and this threatens all the good it was designed to do.
And 3 teenagers and a 20-year-old woman have been arrested as part of an investigation into cyber attacks targeting Marks & Spencer, the Co-op and Harrods. The National Crime Agency said the individuals were arrested early this morning on suspicion of blackmail, money laundering, offences linked to the Computer Misuse Act and participating in the activities of an organised crime group. All 4, between the ages of 17 and 20, remain in custody. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup with all the top stories at 8 o'clock. Now, though, it's over to Westminster and Nigel.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Well, knowing that today was the day there'd be a big press conference between Emmanuel Macron and the British Prime Minister, I decided the only thing I could possibly do was to go out into the English Channel, and I took GB News with me and 1 or 2 print journalists. And most of those journalists had never seen before what we witnessed today. So what happened was a migrant boat left a beach at Gravelines. When it was not very far off the beach, it was escorted by, that's me catching fish, by the way, those who are watching. There was some waiting around to do. It was escorted by the French Navy. And if you look at the pictures now, you can see a French naval rib. And they're coming back to them because they'd lent them 40 life jackets. And as they reached British Border Force, they collected the life jackets back, presumably to use later on today. I say that because I'm not sure what the final tally for today will be, but probably I'm going to guess 7 to 750 across the channel. This boat, it's typical of so many of those boats, 78 people on board, 1 woman, 3 children, and 74 young, undocumented males with no ID, no passports, no mobile phone, no way of tracking or tracing what they are all about. The sheer scale and cost. There's even a boat that they lease at £6,000 a day that comes to pick up the empty dinghies. As to the true total cost of all of this, I don't know. Well, I did this because I thought we'd try and embarrass the Prime Minister on this day as much as we possibly could. At the summit, he spoke about a new deal that he says will stop people crossing the channel. We'll examine that in a moment. But it was the tone of President Macron, I think, that garnered the most interest.
You need to understand that since Brexit, and I'm saying all this quite honestly, I know it's not your case, Prime Minister, but many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against illegal immigration, but it's in fact since Brexit that UK has no migratory agreement with the EU. In fact, therefore, for candidates for the crossing, those alternative legal admission route, nor a readmission scheme after a crossing, it opposite what the Brexit has promised.
A full rant from the French president against Brexit. Basically, if you voted Brexit, you are thick and stupid. He is a superior human being. But what do you expect? Despite that, Starmer gave in to him on virtually everything. There is to be a new 50,000-strong force, military force, headquartered in, well, you've guessed it, Paris, which I see as a proto-European army. The Prime Minister proudly said that our independent nuclear deterrent would now work in unison with France. Well, that would mean it wouldn't be independent. Many other deals on business. And his breakthrough is that for every migrant that crosses the English Channel, they'll be detained and sent back, and in return, we'll get somebody else who they think really qualifies as a refugee. He called it a pilot scheme, said it would start in a few weeks. No numbers were given whatsoever. Folks, let me tell you something, it won't work. And it won't work because they won't be able to deport anybody, because we're members of the European Convention on Human Rights. The lawyers will have a field day. And even if it did work, how is one in, one out, replaced by another one? How does that help us? All we're doing is helping solve France's problems, not our own. Folks, this is Brexit Britain. We voted to be in control of our own borders, to make our own decisions, not to sign up to a grubby deal with France and the European Union. I don't believe it can work, but I'll ask you at home, do you think Starmer's deal will work? Am I being unkind? Am I being unfair? Tweet #Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com. I'm joined in the studio by Alistair Heath, editor of the Sunday Telegraph, Councillor Sebastian Salek, a former Bloomberg journalist, now a Labour councillor, and Michael Wilson, who I'm going to call a veteran of business and finance broadcasting. Sure, he won't take offence at that.
Not that old, but old enough.
Alistair, you wrote a very strong piece in today's Daily Telegraph, basically saying that both France and Britain are declining steadily together in terms of world importance, in terms of quality of life. Did you see anything in the summit that cheered you up?
Oh, no, nothing at all. In fact, I thought you were being too fair to Starmer, right? Because this deal with Macron has not even been ratified by the EU yet, or by the member states. So they could still block it. They may still say, we can't actually do this. And I think that there's no calculus, there's no possibility that this kind of low-level pilot scheme can change the equation for either people smuggler or somebody who wants to come here. It just won't work at all. And I found it incredible, really, that a weak Prime Minister like Starmer could invite such an arrogant man like Macron here to have him lecture us on everything, right? He lectured us on Brexit, right? We were wrong to do Brexit. He lectured us about Palestine. We're supposed to recognise the Palestinian state because Macron was telling us to do so. You know, he's lecturing us on immigration, saying it's all our fault. Now, obviously, I think a lot of it is our fault and we could sort it out on our own. We don't need to beg the French like this. But, you know, it's all part of this fallacy at the heart of the British establishment, of the Labour Party, of the blob, which is this French envy. They love France, they love the socialism, the Cartesian nature of the whole thing, the bureaucracy. They'd love it if, you know, we could increase taxes in this country to French levels, public spending to French levels. They never see a French tax or French grand projet that they don't want themselves. You know, that's why we've got HS2, you know? And, you know, they regret and they resent and they're horrified that we've left the European Union. I mean, the British establishment, not just the French.
I think they are. I mean, it was interesting, Sebastian, you know, Alistair saying that basically Starmer's a weak man and he effectively has been slightly humiliated today. What's your... as a Labour councillor, what's your take?
I mean, as you all know, and as we all know, the small boats crisis is really, really hard to solve. And the way you solve hard problems is by trying things. And that's what we're doing today. It is testing out an idea. And yes, it's small. And yes, this on its own won't solve the crisis. But if it works, you can ramp it up and you can ramp it up. And that is the hope. If we don't do anything, if we tried and tested tactics, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's about being creative and bringing new ideas to the table. And I think that's what we're seeing today.
Well, and I wonder, and Michael, it was interesting, you know, one of the other big announcements was that EDF, the French energy company, will be taking a substantial chunk of Sizewell. He was almost talking about a sort of merging.
Like a trade deal of some description.
Yes.
It's crazy. I mean, I think that... Number one, I feel really sorry for the RNLI and all this. I know that in the past, people have called them a taxi service, but they have to respond in the way that they do. I feel very sorry for them. Secondly, I think the gig economy here is too much of a pull factor. I think that people can lose themselves very easily within the economy here and earn money and just earn cash. So I think those are two things that need to be done. Yeah, sure, EDF. We'll see how that develops.
Yeah.
But that's the bottom line. If you come to the UK and you want to find cash work and it's illegal work, you'll find it.
Well, I even saw last week, I saw a TikTok advert from a trafficker with his mobile phone number on, so much for Smash the Gangs, and saying, as soon as you get to Britain, we'll find you work. So you're in a migrant hotel, but you get a job as a delivery driver or whatever it is. How do we crack down on that?
I don't think you do crack down on it, but I think you have to get politicians to realise we've done with the Smash the Gangs. All that's disappeared now. There's no more talk about that. You've got to somehow regulate the gig economy, and if we want cheap deliveries. We won't get those in the future if it's regulated. It's as simple as that. That's what politicians need to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, we could still get them, right? There's millions of people in the UK on benefits who are not working. Those people should work, and we shouldn't need to import cheap, illegal immigration, right?
Yeah.
So there's a way through. But we are conflating the two problems, aren't we? Because we don't want to tackle the immigration issue. We find it easier to park millions of people on welfare.
Interesting. I mean, you made a comment about the ruling class and French envy, but they are, as a percentage of the population, a tiny number of people.
Yes.
They just happen to run the BBC and they happen to run the civil service, and this current parliament's full of them. But out there, Labour got 10 million votes at the last election. Do you think this small boats thing does them enormous damage?
Yes.
Or people just think, oh, well, it's like the Tories, they're all the same?
No, I think it does them enormous damage, because they don't control our borders, and we're on Ireland, and we should be able to control our borders, right?
We will have to see an improvement, if I can put it like that, in those figures. Or else it will fail, and it will fail, of course.
Well, what's happened today isn't going to change anything. I mean, I take your point, Sebastian, that we're trying something, but we keep trying something. We keep hearing initiatives year after year. None of them have worked to date, and this is, as Alistair makes the point, may not be ratified by the European Union, isn't going to pass the ECHR test. I mean, this is bad news for some.
I think part of the reason that it is a pilot is because you have to tread carefully because of our southern European neighbours. You need to get buy-in, and that's just international politics. You have to move with other people. That's a reality.
But we don't as an island, do we? We voted Brexit to take back control of our borders. We don't need a deal with France.
But we're still on planet Earth. There are still other countries, whether we're tied together in a trading or economic bloc or not, you have to work with your neighbours, and that's what we're doing here. The fact of the matter is, these people are coming from France. And this is the first government that we're seeing that is able to have those discussions. Remember when Yvette Cooper said she was going to do this, everybody laughed. Well, when the Interior Minister said, everybody laughed.
The fact you have a conversation... The fact you have a conversation doesn't mean you're going to win.
Well, we've got a deal. We've got the first step, which no government before has done.
Well, I tell you what, I don't believe it for one single moment. So to finish off this segment, Alistair, with you, is your deepest pessimism about the state of this country, is it economic or social?
It's both, and it's also cultural. I think we are a country in decline. I think we've lost control of the economy. Our economy is no longer working. Our welfare state's totally out of control. We're living beyond our means. We're borrowing, the deficit's far too high. The national debt is growing. And I see striking parallels with France, tragically. I love France. I grew up in France.
Yeah.
But I see both countries now becoming the same. We are copying everything that's bad about France, and France is copying everything that's bad about Britain. We are harmonising, we're converging.
Failure.
Yes, despite Brexit, right? We were meant to diverge. And in fact, we diverged from France in the 80s and 90s, and that's when Britain was booming. And now, unfortunately, we're copying all of their pathologies. So I fear for the future of Britain. I fear for the future of our economy. I think radical change is needed across all the institutions. Everything, very little is working. But I look at this state visit and I see two failed politicians, two second-rate politicians who are cosplaying and being world leaders. They're pretending that they can change things. They're talking about this, almost pooling their nuclear. It's all nonsense, right? Let's live in the real world. We need radical change. This can't go on.
Alistair, thank you very much indeed. Now, as you may know, one of the sweeteners that we've been offered by the French president is that the bio-tapestry may come here. And I saw this rather amusing cartoon earlier on today, which I thought worthy of tweeting out, which I'm hoping is going to appear on your screen any moment now. Because we do need, even after the bleak diagnosis that we've just had from Alistair, we do need some sense of humour. Well, here it goes. So there he is. There's the biotapestry, and as you can see, there is one of them in the boat, throwing overboard his mobile phone. I thought rather a nice sort of bringing together of the migrant crisis and the biotapestry. We're losing Alistair, but we're staying with Sebastian and Michael as we discuss a big report put out today by the Centre for Social Justice showing very, very clearly now you are much better off on welfare benefits than you are working hard on minimum wage. What can we do to change this? Because it is, frankly, a disaster.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
My eye this morning, because I say it all the time. You can't say gents at work. You're deemed to be not inclusive.
It's not inclusive. This comes from a tribunal which took place where a woman took umbrage at one of her bosses using the term in an email, "Dear gents." Well, you can't use the word gent. I mean, I wonder what it's like when you go to the gents now, whether you have to say going to the non-gender specific lavatories. It's a phrase. It shows that you're a bit old, they say, using the word gents now. I mean, I don't regard myself as old, although some may disagree with that.
This caught my eye as well, because one of your lovely presenters, who's on, I believe, at 6 o'clock, Michelle Dewberry, she very often says, thank you, gents. I don't think she's
polite.
I don't think she's going to be changing. But
No,
when you look into this story, there is a little bit more to this than meets the eye, because this email was sent round by management in this insurance company, and one of the ladies who was on a list to be made redundant, along with men, used that email as evidence as to why there was discrimination going on. So there was a little bit more to this, and what the court said was that this was clumsy language, but this was managerial incompetence, and I don't think we should in any way take that as meaning it's got any wider.
So hang on, the court even said it's clumsy language.
The court said it was clumsy language.
In itself.
I mean, they shouldn't be using that language, but what I'm saying is I don't think this means that we have to all change our behaviour because of this one.
But what next, Anna?
Decision.
I've noticed a trend particularly in younger people, to call people guys, even women.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some of your reactions to the summit. Bill says, one in, followed by their whole family, one out. Any good at maths, Starmer? Very good. Manjeet says, Keir Starmer and this Labour government are so far away from reality, it is almost worrying beyond belief. After countless trips and meetings with other leaders, he has made the illegal migration problem worse. And don't get me started on the economy. And Craig says, words will not stop the boats, actions will. Why can't we get our border security to physically turn the boats around? Forget the ECHR and look after our great country. One of the reasons I've been saying for weeks the Prime Minister should declare a national security emergency, given that we know there have been people coming across accused of terrorism, given the Casey report said illegal immigration leads to a huge increase in sexual crime, given that those that come illegally are 25 times more likely to go to prison than those that don't. If you declared an emergency, you could do pretty much what you want, but he won't do it. Now, this is a story that I think should worry everybody. Benefit claimants earning more than the minimum wage. So, for example, a universal credit claimant who is not working but receives housing benefit and personal payments for ill health receives more money than somebody on minimum wage. And a jobless, try this for size, a jobless single parent with anxiety and a child with ADHD could receive £37,000 a year in combined benefits. What's the point of working? This is serious. Well done to the Centre for Social Justice for putting this together. I'm joined down the line by Baroness Ros Altman, pensions expert and Conservative peer. I have to say, firstly, welcome to the programme.
Thank you, Nigel.
But this lays it out, doesn't it? These numbers are just astonishing. How do we get into this mess?
Well, I think the problem we have is that we've got a benefit system that is interfered with by politics again and again and again. So we've got basic benefits, but then we've got lots of add-ons. So if you've got different conditions, you get different amounts, and nobody quite has control of how much everybody gets. And I think the checks that are made on people receiving benefits have become pretty lax.
That's
true. So what you're seeing is that even though the basic benefits don't sound huge, by the time you've got all the add-ons, actually, we've ended up with a situation which the Centre for Social Justice has just exposed, where people who are working, if they know what's happening, and they might do now, will think, well, we're mugs. We're working, we're paying taxes, and we're giving all this money to people who don't work. Is that right? Is that fair? Obviously, there are some severely disabled people in the country, and there are people who are seriously ill and can't work. But that is not the majority of people who are on benefit.
No, and yet, you know, when an attempt was made to slow the rise of disability benefits and payments, it met with a huge rebellion and a massive government backdown.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Tories also tried to get control of the benefit bill and introduce different restrictions, what was called austerity. But actually, in the end, the amount of money kept going up, and the pandemic was a disaster for all of this. Because, you know, suddenly everybody either needed or expected that the government would support them because the government said you can't go out to work. And because of the social restrictions, which, by the way, I always thought were really over the top, you had people being assessed for disability benefits over the telephone. So, you know, how are you supposed to know who you're speaking to or what their condition really is? And that has carried on, and lots of people, including benefits assessors, will be working from home, not even going into an office. And therefore, it's much easier now to game the system. And please don't get me wrong, I don't think everyone who's on benefits is gaming the system by any means. But the trouble is, we've got into a situation where the cost of all these benefits has mushroomed out of control. The country is struggling to be able to afford it. And of course, because these are all working age people, the amount lost to the economy in people not working is also huge, let alone the amount that taxpayers who are working are to support them.
No, Ros, you've summed it up beautifully. Thank you, as ever, for coming on the programme.
Thanks,
Michael. This is a complete disaster.
It is. It should be said, though, that the rump of long-term unemployed in this country, as in my lifetime as a business journalist, has not altered. It's always been about 1 million. It got about 2 million during COVID. So there's always been a rump of long-term unemployed in the country. That's the thing. What really worries me about this is these 9.2 million people in between the ages of 16 and 64, which is what counts as working age in this country. That's almost a quarter of the working population are not actually working. and are on benefits. Now, what would you do? So, do you want to set off in a cold, dark morning in whichever part of this country you actually live in, past somebody who's lying in bed on benefits? Do you actually want to? And do you want to earn less than them? That's what we're facing. That's a real problem, isn't it?
It's a disaster. I mean,
but it doesn't matter what the politics are. I mean, nobody's managed to tackle it.
I mean, Sebastian, you know, these disability benefits are costing about 75 billion a year. They're forecast, goodness knows why, to go to 100 billion by 2030. It seems almost unbelievable, but there we are. And the Chancellor makes some modest changes, and the Labour backbenchers were crying blue murder. So it seems there's no prospect of any reform of this under Keir Starmer.
Yeah, I mean, economically, it would have been a much more convenient position if this had gone through. Now the Chancellor has to go and find that money from elsewhere. What I see coming out of the data, though, is two things, really, because you earn more than somebody on minimum wage on benefits if you are receiving PIP and if you are getting housing benefit. What does that say, then, about the cost of renting and about the cost of being disabled? I think anybody who rents or is disabled or knows anyone in those positions would see that really clearly. So the problem here really is not that benefits are too high, it's that people aren't earning enough. And we've already seen the minimum wage go up. That's brilliant, great start. You're £1,400 better off now if you work full time. But the big problem here in Britain is productivity, and we've had that for ages. That is the big issue that we need to crack here.
It's a very fair point.
Yeah, indeed. And I was very surprised that this government is awarded effectively a pay increase to the NHS without any mention of productivity, and it's 3% in real terms. Now, politics has nothing to do with this. This is arithmetic. It simply doesn't add up. By the turn of the 20s, it will have gone. There'll be no money left. It's quite simple.
Yeah, no. I mean, it is deeply disturbing. I thought what was also interesting is Ros mentioned the pandemic, and she's right. You know, Zoom call for 10 minutes with your own GP could put you onto disability benefits. And I think actually it shouldn't be your family GP that does this, because they're going to feel pressured in many ways to say, yes, just how much damage to the business culture.
Face-to-face is what you need, isn't it? And you're right to point that out. As far as COVID was concerned, it did make us all relax slightly, and we sat at home. And how many?
And the weather was nice in the first lockdown.
The weather was okay, and how many people are eating hobnobs and watching daytime television? Got no idea. But I assumed that they were, you know. And I think that's continued. At the time, and I continue to believe this. I feel really sorry for those young people who missed out on an office, because an office is your growing up.
And you learn from older people.
And you learn from older people, and you copy the good ones, and you don't make the same mistakes as the bad ones. That's growing up. That's a huge generation has missed that.
I mean, half of Whitehall works from home still. I just find it extraordinary. And we're told, oh, no, productivity it doesn't affect productivity, but it does, doesn't it?
Well, it comes back to well-being, and you ask the question, why are so many people on PIP? Why do we have a mental health crisis? A lot of it is because of how we're being stretched as a society. If you can work from home, you can be with your loved ones more, you can look after your children. It's just, for many people, they feel it's a healthier way to live. So I would encourage that, but at the same time, we do have this issue that we've got to face in lots of ways.
I think if you're a computer programmer, it's quite possible that working from home on your own, you may well be as, if not more, productive. But I think most of us, don't we feed off each other in terms of ideas and humour and actually work being an enjoyable experience?
And a part-time job at the early stage, I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, I've done both, and I've really enjoyed both. When I was young in my career, it was brilliant to be in the office, because you're learning off people, you're completely right. But as you get older, you have other commitments, it's nice to have that flexibility, and it doesn't necessarily be working from home full-time. It's about striking a balance, and it's choice, isn't it, at the end of the day, and that's what's valuable.
Well, I certainly won't talk about my experiences of working in an office in the City of London in the early 1980s, because it is a culture that the young generation simply wouldn't understand, Michael, would they?
They would not. Nothing to do with long lunches either.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. In a moment, we will talk about a murder that took place in Knightsbridge last night that has caused considerable shock. A chap wearing a Rolex, and somebody comes and tries to take the Rolex. He fights back. He's stabbed to death. Those that watched this programme earlier this week will remember I spoke to the Bridgerton actress. She fought back against a mugger, but look at what happened to this guy. And we'll talk about lawless London and just how serious the thing is, because I think it isn't just because of tax and fear of wealth tax that people are fleeing London. I think crime is now a very major part of it.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Storm Gabriel is set to affect many areas of Central Europe, and to the east of this, the intense heat wave continues, triggering some thunderstorms at times. But across many areas of Western Europe, largely settled. Some showers at times, but it is going to be feeling warm in the sunshine. The main shower risk is as we move our way eastwards, particularly along the Adriatic coastline and then also parts of Greece. So once again, we could see some intense thunderstorms, but for many areas, plenty of sunshine and plenty of warm temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Good evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Very warm one today. Tomorrow, if anything, a little bit hotter and a bit sunnier for many too. Again, some coasts will be a little bit misty and murky. High pressure's been building in for the past couple of days. These weather fronts still flirting with the far north of Scotland. They've provided some thicker cloud here and a little bit of rain. Still a bit damp across Shetland through the course of the night, but most places will have a dry night with lengthy clear spells. We will see some mist and fog around Irish sea coast that could just drift inland over parts of northwest England, the east of Northern Ireland and southwest Scotland. A warm one, especially in towns and cities in the south. 17, 18, but quite comfortable across much of Scotland, where there will be more sunshine to come tomorrow. Certainly a sunnier day over the Highlands and the Western Isles compared to today. Just like today, much of the south will be fine and sunny, just a threat of a little bit of mist and low cloud on some North Sea coasts. Certainly that's going to be a bit of an issue, I suspect, on the east coast of Northern Ireland, with mist and low cloud here, the Isle of Man, and around some of the coasts in southwest Scotland. Still some cloud over the Northern Isles and the Western Isles early on Saturday, but generally that is pulling away and the winds will be lighter and we should see a bit more sunshine over the Highlands compared to today for sure. I'm hopeful that area of mist and fog in the Irish Sea will shrink away from the coasts, so we should see some lengthy sunny spells pretty much everywhere by Friday afternoon. It will be a hotter day, more widely over 30 Celsius across the heart of England and Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, also seeing those temperatures ticking up by a few degrees. A balmy Friday evening, and then Saturday, well, a similar story. Bit more mist and low cloud possible in eastern areas. Again, though, I'm hopeful it won't stick to the coast. It should tend to melt away through the course of the morning to reveal plenty of sunshine. A hot one, if anything, the hottest day of this spell, 32, 33 across the south and parts of northern Scotland, may get close to 30 Celsius too.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, we know that knife crime has exploded in London, indeed in other cities too. Normally, the stabbings, the killings, are between rival gangs, happen in the poorer parts of London. What shocked everybody last night, Blue Stevens, a 24-year-old from Yateley in Hampshire, was up in town, and there he was in the middle of Knightsbridge. You know, he was outside a five-star hotel with a casino next door in Knightsbridge, and it's 9:30 in the evening, and he's with his girlfriend, and he's stopped in the street by somebody wearing a mask who tries to take his Rolex watch from him. He fights back. He's stabbed to death. And Sadiq Khan can say what he likes. You know, he's now telling us there's a new town centre crime crackdown. I think we're living in lawless London, and I think one of the reasons people are fleeing our city is not just tax, it's fear of crime. Sebastian, you know, obviously our condolences go to Blue's family. But this is getting worse, and rapidly worse.
What a terrible thing to see, a family man killed in the street. I think you're right that this is a national issue. I wouldn't say this is a London issue.
No, because the Birmingham stats are pretty grim as well, to be fair.
And I think this has been playing out for a long time because, I mean, we talked about it in the previous segment. When you aren't seeing people getting richer, getting better off, they're going to turn to other means, and society is going to suffer as a result of that. So I think it's the long tail of that.
These Rolex thefts are all being conducted by foreign criminal gangs that we've allowed into the country.
Right, we don't know that for sure.
We do pretty much. We know that Albanian crime, Romanian crime, certainly in London, is a major constituent part of this.
And we need to treat all criminals the same, and we need to make sure that they see justice. I would love to see money going back into policing. We saw it drop drastically under the Tories, and that was a real oversight. It looked like an easy thing to cut during austerity. We're now seeing the result of that. And it is really tragic. So it's an important reminder that there are fundamental aspects of society that we can't let go.
Is this societal breakdown, Michael, that we're saying?
What this reminds me of is New York in the 80s.
Pre-Giuliani.
Correct. And I think that his attitude towards it was fix one broken window. That's all you need to do. Show some presence. That's what needs to happen in London. If you look around, it's the same with people leaping over ticket barriers and the rest of it, which I personally would not get involved because I'd probably get beaten up. And I think similar towards it. The other thing is, I feel so sorry for him and and the family and all the rest of it. It's very, very tragic. But at the same time, do not be ostentatious about jewellery in London. It's just not.
The very thought you've just said that a woman can't walk down the King's Road wearing a nice necklace.
No.
The fact we've
a ring it reversed.
But it's a terrible thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's true.
But it's kind of giving up, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I think it's all pretty bleak and pretty grim, and I'm really worried about it. Can you see it turning around?
I really hope so, but it's been happening for a long time, so I think it's going to take a long time to fix as well.
Yeah, London needs a Giuliani. The country does, I believe. Now, almost 400 pubs are set to close in 2025, and we're going to do a little bit on this programme to show some solidarity with the pubs. Yes. Quick cheers to my panel.
Cheers, indeed. Thank you.
The British Beer and Pub Association say that 400 pubs will close, that the cost of a pint is now going up way beyond £5, and indeed for other drinks it can be £6, £7, £8 in parts of central London. And I think the absolute nail in the coffin was the national insurance rise from Rachel Reeves. I think that was what took away the profit margin. Add to that massive energy bills that pubs have got, I believe, frankly, as a result of net zero. I mean, I really believe that every pub's a parliament, that they play an important part in our national life and our national debate. I put it to you, Sebastian, Reeves's budget has done much of this.
Well, I think what we're going to see, though, is what is going to help a lot, and we've seen pub groups talk about this already. It's thinking about business rates. When I speak to businesses in my ward, it's the thing they always bring up because it is so hard to stay above water whilst paying business rates.
Because they've been revalued back up post-pandemic.
Yes, but now what we're seeing is a rebalancing. So, and the numbers haven't come out yet, but the direction of travel is clear. Labour is going to charge more to large businesses. We're talking about Amazon warehouses and give a cut to high street shops, including pubs.
That would help a bit.
And I think so. And, I would be devastated if my local closed. And so it's really good to see them being given a lifeline. And I think that's real Labour politics. It's about looking after independent businesses.
Well, that's OK, but we've got energy bills that have gone up a lot since the last election, despite the incorrect promises that they would go down. Minimum wage has gone up, and OK, fair enough, but that still adds to the cost of running a place. And this, I promise you, this national insurance, I speak to publicans, even relatively modest pubs, it's going to cost me $8,000 this year, $10,000 that year. It's 2% on. Didn't sound like a lot. The effect's been enormous.
But the one thing not to forget is the entrepreneurial spirit, which we've seen locally. The person who runs our local pub has been quite amazing during COVID, and she faces these increased costs, and so she does food. There is a way of doing things. She's open in the afternoon. I wouldn't want to be a publican right now, to be honest.
No.
But there are ways around it. I think it's a shame because I agree with you. I think that a pub is a parliament.
Yeah.
It's a place that you actually want to go. You want to go and meet people, and it should be.
And the rest of the world are jealous.
Yeah.
Of the pub culture that we've got. Well, you talked about long lunches earlier on. I mean, pubs are fundamentally important, aren't they?
So told.
But more broadly, just business more broadly, what we're seeing is in hospitality and in retail, very large numbers of people being laid off.
Yeah, we are. And I think some famous names have left the high street. There are all sorts of reasons for that. What's quite interesting is to see the high street reinventing itself. Suddenly, people quite enjoy shopping. They don't enjoy having to pay a huge amount for parking, but there is a way around that. But they do enjoy going to shops. They do enjoy touching, feeling, trying things on, and the rest of it, enjoy meeting people.
So a different kind of shopping?
Yes. It's what it used to be, and it is no longer. And it's changed because of online. Now, I think it's changing back. I think people like the physicality of going shopping.
Interesting. Well, I hope you're right. Because even walking down a high street actually is quite a social activity, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But Rachel Reeves's budget has hit retail. It has hit hospitality. You can't get around that.
I think it's very easy to blame the government for business failure. There are some businesses that just aren't viable. Of course, you're going to see some impact depending on what national policy is, but not every business can be saved by the government, and we just have to face that reality.
No, not every business can. I totally and utterly accept that. I want to say thank you to my panel. Enjoy the rest of your drinks. When I come back, I've got a short segment on water near Whitstable running out, literally running out completely again. What is going wrong in East Kent?
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, Thames Water in the national news come in for regular amounts of abuse, and they probably deserve it, frankly. We don't hear so much about South East Water, but a story that's been developing over the course of the last few years where literally you turn the tap and nothing comes out. I'm joined down the line by Sarah Claydon, Kent resident, who has now been without water for 5 days. Sarah, welcome to the programme. I understand you live somewhere near Whitstable, is that right?
Yes, I live just on the outskirts of Whitstable, and although we have water back on today, we have been without water, without a drop of water for 5 days. And also in Herne Bay, 7,000 homes there were also without water for a day as well.
This is exciting, and I've read about this happening in areas, within, a 10-mile radius of Canterbury quite regularly over the course of the last few years. So when it literally runs out, what happens? Are there water trucks? Is there bottled water available? What actually happens?
So the first priority is to get water to the vulnerable residents, and South East Water did eventually start to do that. The local residents have been amazing. We've become far more aware of our vulnerable residents, and we've made sure ourselves that they're safe. And currently, we still have water tankers pumping water into the pipe system, providing water for us.
Right, and Sarah, what is the excuse that is given for this? What is the excuse? Is it the fact we haven't built enough reservoirs? Is it that the population of East Kent has gone up? What are you actually being told?
So in a reply that, so our local MPs and councillors have all been amazing, and to you as well, thank you for picking up on this story. And we have had a letter back from South East Water, and they have stated in there that the cuts have been due to power cuts and blips in the East Kent area, water quality failure in Canterbury, and also sustained high demand and hot weather.
Sustained high demand and hot weather, and I'm sorry, if they haven't got enough water to last for a few hot days, I don't really buy that. I mean, I do know we haven't actually built nationally a major reservoir for 30 years, so this problem, that you're experiencing could come perhaps to other parts of the country. But are you in line for compensation?
There is talk of compensation. South East Water have asked customers not to contact them, that they will be working they will be working through, and any compensation will be added onto people's water bills, which interestingly they have just increased.
I know. And I'm guessing people with young babies, elderly people who want to make a cup of tea, and probably haven't got bottled water in the fridge because they can't afford to buy it or whatever it might be. So how has the community come together?
Well, we've all been very aware of our neighbours, making sure we're going around. We have, as I say, we've had councillors. We've built up a Facebook group now where all our residents can communicate and keep in touch with each other, keeping us up to date of areas that are still struggling with water issues, as there are today still 50 properties that are experiencing intermittent water supplies. We've also had quite concerning times with livestock where we haven't been provided water.
Yeah.
And it comes down to when the water goes, it goes. We get no warning. We will literally just turn on the tap and nothing will come out. And that's not for an hour or 2 hours. The last time that happened, that was for 5 days. And it's not acceptable. And the apologies after apologies and excuses after excuses, we don't want that. We want action, and we want assurance that in the future, when we turn our tap on, there will be water in it.
Mm. Yeah, well, it is actually one of the fundamentals of modern-day civilization, isn't it, really, that there will be...
It's a human right. It's a human right to have water.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Now, one last quick thought from you, if I may. Up until 1989, South East Water was effectively publicly owned. It's now privately owned. And there is a big debate raging around water and utilities. Do you have any thoughts about whether the private companies have failed us? Could government do it better? Any thoughts on that?
I don't think at the end of the day it matters whether it's government or whether it's private. Whoever's doing it has to do it right. They have a responsibility to people.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But and by the way, I'm not sure anyone knows the answer to that question. But,
I think government should step in. I do believe that they need to hold South East Water more accountable. And it's not just South East Water, as you say. It's all over the country. It's a nationwide issue.
Yeah, and poor planning, and very poor planning. Sarah Claydon, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I hope you don't get any more 5-day water outs. That's what we're going to call them. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, Steve Andrews, South East Water's incident manager, said the water supply problems which have happened in Herne Bay and Whitstable and Sea Salter were caused by power cuts in the East Kent area. A water quality failure, well, yes, in Canterbury, and sustained high demand and hot weather. During incidents such as this, we work to provide alternative water to our customers through tankering water either directly into the network, which enables customers to continue receiving water through their taps, as well as bottled water stations where that's not possible. Well, that's all well and good, but Sarah's water went off completely for 5 days. I am joined in the studio by Alex Armstrong, standing in for Jacob Rees-Mogg, and I think you're going to talk about the speech given by... What's his name? Is it President Macron, or you got another name for him?
Oh, I'm taking your phrase, little budget Napoleon.
Yes, I did call him that.
You did. I love it. And you know what? He just infuriated half the population, Nigel. He couldn't stop talking about Brexit. Of course, his little squire, Sir Keir Starmer, has gone and done another horrendous deal for Britain. We're basically getting no change, is what we can see from the small boats crisis. I've got Susan Hall joining me to talk about this incredible rise in crime in London off the back of that horrific story.
This one really has registered with people because it's in Knightsbridge, I guess a wealthy part of London. That may not be fair on other knife crimes that happen, but it really has struck a chord somehow.
Shocking. I'm a born and bred Londoner, you know, and it's just so much worse than I've ever seen it in my life. People are scared to go outdoors at the moment, Nigel. So we'll be talking about that. We've got a Labour MP to come and talk about this money laundering on high streets, as well as this shocking statistic that 40% of people are better off on benefits.
I know.
So... a lot to dig into, Nigel.
A lot to dig into. Alex, thank you very much indeed. Well, it's over and out from me. I'll be back with you next week here live on GB News. I think Alex Deacon's going to tell us the weather is going to get very, very hot indeed. Be careful of the water.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Very warm one today. Tomorrow, if anything, a little bit hotter and a bit sunnier for many too. Again, some coasts will be a little bit misty and murky. High pressure's been building in for the past couple of days. These weather fronts still flirting with the far north of Scotland. They've provided some thicker cloud here and a little bit of rain. Still a bit damp across Shetland through the course of the night, but most places will have a dry night with lengthy clear spells. We will see some mist and fog around Irish sea coast that could just drift inland over parts of northwest England, the east of Northern Ireland and southwest Scotland. A warm one, especially in towns and cities in the south. 17, 18, but quite comfortable across much of Scotland, where there will be more sunshine to come tomorrow. Certainly a sunnier day over the Highlands and the Western Isles compared to today. Just like today, much of the south will be fine and sunny. Just a threat of a little bit of mist and low cloud on some North Sea coasts. Certainly that's going to be a bit of an issue, I suspect, on the east coast of Northern Ireland, with mist and low cloud here, the Isle of Man, and around some of the coasts in southwest Scotland. Still some cloud over the Northern Isles and the Western Isles early on Saturday, but generally that is pulling away and the winds will be lighter and we should see a bit more sunshine over the Highlands compared to today for sure. I'm hopeful that area of mist and fog in the Irish Sea will shrink away from the coasts, so we should see some lengthy sunny spells pretty much everywhere by Friday afternoon. It will be a hotter day, more widely over 30 Celsius across the heart of England and Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, also seeing those temperatures ticking up by a few degrees. A balmy Friday evening, and then Saturday, Well, a similar story. Bit more mist and low cloud possible in eastern areas. Again, though, I'm hopeful it won't stick to the coast. It should tend to melt away through the course of the morning to reveal plenty of sunshine. A hot one, if anything, the hottest day of this spell, 32, 33 across the south and parts of northern Scotland may get close to 30 Celsius too.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who